how to do it better. Every person in this room intellectually knows how to do a better job than they're doing. Everyone in the room knows how to earn more than they're earning, but they're not doing it. You see, having the knowledge is not the deal. So you see, awareness is the big deal. We want to become aware of the obvious opportunities that are available to us. We are surrounded by opportunity. They're everywhere you go. There is an abundance. There's no shortage of opportunities. We can win, and we can win in a big way. Now, when we lack awareness, we miss the opportunity. When money starts coming, it'll come so fast and so furious that you're going to wonder where it's been hiding for all those lean years.
Peace, family. What's up, what's up, what's up? I am coming to you all today to record this video. It's going to be a video on trend lines and how I learned how to properly place trend lines and identify trends in the markets that we study on iMastery Academy. So we're just going to dive right into the information session, okay? So right here we have S&P 500. Everybody's familiar with the S&P 500. We see it all over television, MSNBC, whatever, right? So right here, I wanted to just kind of show you what a trend, a downtrend would look like. I may do another video to show you guys an uptrend, but just really quick, how can I identify a downtrend in the market? And I made up this little drawing of some lines just to kind of show you what we look for without looking at the market really fast, okay? So the tool that I like to use when I'm identifying a trend is the Ray tool. You can find this tool, it's in my favorites button, but you can find it here where the pitchfork is, open it up. Oh, I'm sorry. You can find it here where the trend line is, open it up, and it's right here, the Ray, okay? So I grab this Ray function and I want to put my first point here. Well, where did it go? I want to put my first point right here, right there at the origin point of the descension of the trend, right? Or where I think a trend may start. And then I'll place the next trend line, the next point right here. The reason why I would make this point here and that would be valid is because as this trend went up and it came down, the sellers were in control, the buyers lost control because we had a break below the previous low right here, okay? So we had the buyers shoot up the market. The sellers came in very viciously. They probably came out of a demand zone, right? A supply zone here at the top. They pushed price all the way down and they pushed price far enough down to close below the previous low. So we have the start of a trend. Now, if you're not aware, great, that's no problem. You can learn all about that in iMastery Academy. But in most markets, you're going to receive a pullback. The market needs a moment to rest. After it has dropped full throttle for a long time, 4 hours, it needs a moment to just take a breath and rest. And it's going to retest. When it pulled back, whatever level it may pull back to, it could pull up to 38% of the downward trend, 50% of the downward trend. It can pull all the way up to 70, 75% of the downward trend, okay? And when it came back down and another low was broken right here, game time, we are in a full-on active trend because we went from low, high, lower low, lower high, lower low, right? So we're in an active trend. Now, in a real market, you will see ugly things like this where you're like, okay, remember what I told you. From this downtrend, the market needs to take a moment to rest. So this market seems like it rested and pulled up about 38% of the descension of the origin right here, right? It came down, it pulled up approximately 30%. This around here may be 50%, you know, and so forth and so on. And then it dropped down, and then it tested this area again where the buyers were still holding up the market because, you know, even though the sellers are in control, there's some buyers here because it pushed the market back up, okay? I just always want you to think about these pivot points. Buyers and sellers are trading dominance in the market, even if it's temporary, right? So even though we're in the downtrend, there's a temporary dominant shift or a pullback to allow the buyers to take a rest. I'm sorry, the sellers to take a rest, the buyers to get in on some action, and it'll allow some sellers that may have missed the boat up here to potentially get in on some action up here in this area. But that's a little bit advanced, so let's just stick to the trend line, right? Okay, so we felt the trend came down, it closed below this previous low, and now we have a low. We got some dancing around. That's how the market really acts. We got some action, and then boom, we pulled back up into the area of the trend line. Now people will say, oh my gosh, the trend line was broken. What are we going to do? Most people think break, retest, and it's gone. That's not always the case. Depending on if this high, right, has been broken, will tell us if the trend is ready to reverse again. This just may mean that the buyers had a real strong push and the sellers were still stronger than the buyers, and they pushed the market right on back down. And I'll show you how to identify those things in the market using the tool that I love so much called the Fibonacci retracement tool. But that's how you identify the trend. Another thing that you can do with the trend line is that you could take this point and just stretch it down here, and that will pivot the overall trend. So price may come back up here to test the trend line as well. Okay, so this is an example of my elementary drawing of how we look for a trend line. We look for lows and floors. You know, some people call them floors, but we look for lows to be broken and higher lows, right? So here's an example of the S&P 500 on the 4-hour, right? So we're just going to establish that from here to here, we are establishing a trend because we broke this floor right here, okay? Can we agree there? From here to here, we are beginning to establish a trend because we broke this floor. And what happened? Price came back up to retest the area of the trend line, and then it broke back down. Like I showed you in my elementary drawing, you can take that opportunity for the pullback to adjust your trend line. A trend line, it sounds very simple, but it is very simple. A trend line is fluid. It's going to move along with price as long as it's not broken and a higher high has been made. It's going to stay along with price, so it may move out a little bit or move in a little bit, and that's okay. As long as you're following the rule that after the pullback, you would adjust this because another low was made. You broke this low, so now this is your new origin point, and you're waiting to see how far this is going to come. When this came on down and it kept breaking lower and lower and lower, you could have taken the liberty if you wanted to, but just, okay, move your trend line there because you had an impulse down. You had this candle. These two candles broke lower than these candles. The body broke lower than the wicks of those candles. So you can, or if you didn't want to use that one, you can use these over here. It's all relevant, but we like for bodies to close below wicks. And if we have that type of price action, you can kind of adjust your trend line. And then it just kept on going. And then the last ascension was right here. Okay. So it pulled back from here, right? It pulled back up to here, and then price came right back on down. So being a 100% novice in these markets, you can open up TradingView, right? This is a free stock chart app called tradingview.com. You can type in S&P 500 USD, just like I have here, and we all see that this is going downwards, right? That's not rocket science. That's not very hard. And you could just grab that ray that I told you about and place it from your origin point. And what you're looking for is for the previous low to be broken. When you see that happen, game time. You have an active trend line. And just as a novice, you can take entries along these areas. Now, this video is for educational purposes only on how to draw an effective trend line. I'm not telling people how to enter and exit the market, but with this trend line within my team at Mastery Academy, we are mindful wealth creators. We show you how to use tools like the Fibonacci retracement tool to measure entering the market safely using this technique layered with the Fibonacci retracement tool. I also want to show you here inside of I Am Mastery Academy where you would have the opportunity to learn about this when you first start. You would come into the Forex Academy, the English area, where we have 68 items for you to learn from. Now, the Series 100 is just, 100% background on the history of Forex and so forth and so on. But we would, to study trend lines, because that is our beginning, our first start of learning how to mark up a chart, we would go to our Series 2, required education for you to move on, right? And then you would click on here, what is a trend? And then we have a video that will let you know what a trend line is and how to identify them, along with this video that you'll have, this video that I'm recording today. That'll be on my YouTube channel that our team has access to. And there are also videos on here that are exclusively just for our team, that to help you go further and go in more detail with different tools and things that we have within our team and within the academy. So I hope that this short little lesson here today on how to effectively draw a trend line and how to identify a trend in the market is helpful to those who watched it. As always, peace and hair grease. I hope you enjoyed the introduction, and I am going to let Bob Proctor take us out of here. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
All it's required to put the science of getting rich to work in your life is a decision. Now, I want to suggest that you make up your mind you're going to get in what we call the success zone. It's a way of thinking. When we get into the success zone, everything in our life starts to change. Because it's an inside job. And we're forever trying to change things outside, and that's not where it's at. Yeah, you see, it's the repetition of the right information that'll really alter what's going on inside. And that's what you have to do. I don't think it matters what you're doing. I think what matters is how you're doing it. You don't get rich by doing certain things. You get rich by doing things in a certain way. You could find two people doing exactly the same thing and you couldn't see the difference. But one's doing it a certain way, the other isn't. It has to do with intent. It has to do with the energy that you're doing it with. You've got to have a purpose. You've got to have a purpose that is so big, so all-encompassing. That's why you get up in the morning. That's why you go to work. We become what we think about. And whatever you think about, you attract. You literally magnetize yourself to it. When money starts coming, it'll come so fast and so furious that you're going to wonder where it's been hiding through all those lean years.